Good evening. Hello and welcome to today's webinar in Construction Management Courses at Global Banking School, also known as GBS. I'm John Lestourgeon. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at GBS, as well as your webinar host for today. And here's what you can expect. Next slide, please. So we've got a very exciting agenda for you today. I will start by introducing you to GBS, a little bit of history about who we are, and then we'll hand you over to our academic presenter here today. We have Mark Shelbourne, who's the Associate Dean and Construction Academic, who'll be showing you a lot of useful information today. He will start by discussing the range of construction courses we have on offer at GBS, and after he's given you an overview on the courses, he will present some more information on our admissions process. So whether you've applied for a course at GBS or not, there's plenty of useful information in there for you. A key part of studying any course at university level is financial support, which can be used to support your study if you need it. I will talk a bit more about the student finance opportunities available in the UK, but please note that I can only give advice on student finance. You'll have to make the application yourself. And this ethos is followed by my colleagues as well. We're happy to give you advice to access student finance, but it'll be yourself who has to make the application directly. Now, one of the key things for us at GBS is for you, our students, to have a really valuable experience. And today, hopefully, without any technical issues barring us, we'll have a student who will talk about his experience at GBS. We have Robert, who's a construction student, who I'll carry out a quick Q&A with, who tells us what it's really like to study at GBS. So hopefully, Robert will answer the questions that will be very useful to you. Then finally, the audience, we can't forget you. We'll conclude questions by taking them from you about anything you may have. You can ask them to myself or the academic or even the student who's attending here today. So we'll take your questions. All I'll ask you to kindly do is to please type your questions into the questions box, which you can see on your webinar screen. It's like a little speech box icon with a question mark in it. So if you just type in your questions there, what we'll do is once all the presentations have concluded, we will answer them for you. Right, so let's go on to the next slide, please. Let's start a little bit of our history. So GBS was founded in 2010. That was about 14 years ago. And we are a specialist in delivering undergraduate and postgraduate programs in subject areas such as finance, construction, accounting, business, tourism, and healthcare, to name a few. We also work with some highly regarded university partners to deliver our courses. So we work with the likes of Bart Spa University, Canterbury Christ Church University, Oxford Brookes, Pearson, and the University of Suffolk as well. But all our courses are taught at GBS's campuses in London, Birmingham, Leeds, and Manchester. So you will get the full GBS experience by studying with us. So a little bit more about GBS. What do I mean by the full experience? Well, it is a good experience, I can assure you that, because our students really highly rate us. A couple of examples of this is that for the 5th year running, GBS has delivered an overwhelmingly positive verdict in the 2024 National Student Survey. Now, the National Student Survey is made up of opinions from students. Students feedback what they think about the institution they're studying with, not to GBS, but directly to the National Student Survey surveyors, so to speak, and what they will do is they will calculate the scores and find out what students think about the teaching on the course, the support they get on the course. And we're very proud that we're always ranking in the high 90%, well above the industry sector averages, which is about roughly 70 to 80%. But we're always highly ranking. And that's a really, really strong opinion from our student body that we're delivering a course that is helping them. Also, we received a bronze award in the recent Teaching Excellence Framework ratings, with our student outcomes being judged as high quality, and our student experience actually got a silver award, which is a very high quality in all areas. So it's an accolade we're quite proud of. Any aspect in which our students rate us, we're very proud of that, and we hope we continue to give that experience to you if you decide to join us on this construction course. And then finally, we're not just rated by students, we're rated by the industry too. We are award winning. We won a couple of awards. We won at the Educational Awards, we won the High Educational Provider of the Year, not once, but twice, in 2023 for the Manchester region and 2024 for the Birmingham region, further emphasizing the consistency, should I say, of quality that we offer throughout our campuses. So I think that's enough for me now. I think you're all keen to hear from an academic, and I will hand you over to Mark, who will tell you more about the range of construction management courses we have on offer. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, John, and welcome everybody to this evening's webinar. As John said, my name is Dr. Mark Shelbourne. I am the Associate Dean, and I basically look after the whole of the construction management programs here at the GBS. We are very proud of the developments we've made since starting the program in February 22, and we look forward to giving you some advice, key activities that we do on the course, and hopefully excite you to make an application. So the courses we deliver, obviously the full list is on the screen of all the courses we deliver at GBS. But it doesn't matter which course you study, generally the way we teach you is face-to-face delivery. You know, we pride ourselves in the facilities we have to make your learning experience as good as it can be across all of our campuses across the country. We have East and West London, Birmingham, we have 2 sites in Birmingham, site in Manchester and a couple of sites in Leeds. So it's that flexibility to learn close to where you actually reside. The other thing we can do is, obviously, in construction management, we offer a HND course, which gets you to what we call level 5 qualification, or alternatively, you can start on a degree course, which takes you from level 3 to level 6. There is an opportunity now to upgrade your HND in construction management from the Pearson faculty, moving into the BASPAR faculty to do construction management. So if you get so hooked into the learning, you've enjoyed it so much on the HND in construction, you can now do an extra year on top of that and get the full degree, which is something we're new offering this year. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is it we do? In a little bit more detail. The HND in construction management course, as I said, is run through Pearson, and it's generally a 2-year program. You're going to study 8 particular subjects a year, which we call modules, and currently they are all taught face-to-face. So there's no online delivery, there's very little interaction outside of the classroom, which we pride ourselves here at GBS in creating that experience to give you the best experience in the class. Currently, the HND in construction is taught in our Greenford campus. It will shortly be expanded to some of our campuses further north of London in the not too distant future. Obviously, you come to study here at GBS to better, upskill yourself, to better gain a better job in the career of construction. And from the HND construction management course, there are a number of different roles that you would be able to apply for that the course will give you a step up into. So you can range from anything from a design coordinator, looking at, when a building's put together or a building's designed, it's often useful to have a construction management stakeholder or voice in that design process. An architect or a designer could come up with this beautifully designed wedge-shaped, G-shaped, curve-shaped building, but if you can't put it together, it's not going to be viable. So, having that construction management experience in the design process is really key, in that your ability to be able to put the building together that's been designed. So all the things around a design and build coordinator, alongside the assistant design coordinator roles, are generally around how you put the building together, how we're going to do it, which particular route of contracting we're going to take. Design and build is a form of contracting, and your ability to, what's the word I'm looking for, I guess, be part of those discussions and negotiations is really key in making the building a success. Once the design is finalised, you then go into, the activities on site, and that is predominantly what a construction management degree HND would do. Obviously, the more higher degree level you get, the more responsibility you tend to get on the site. So you'll see HND level, we're looking around technician kind of activities. You'll be a trainee site manager. You could really enjoy health and safety. The way we work on a construction site, it is a very dangerous place. Sadly, people do lose their lives from time to time. But, we put as much effort, time, coordination into health and safety to make sure that everybody goes home to their families at the end of the day. And you can specialise in that. You could become an expert in health and safety. There's many more. You can be a planning supervisor. When a building's put together, there's lots of different activities that are happening on the site that need to be coordinated. Materials are coming in. How are you going to get from A to B across the site? Do you need a tower crane? Do you use a static crane? Do you just use forklifts to drive it around? All those things need planning. So, where you put a tower crane is really important to get the maximum use out of it. Those things aren't cheap to have. So, working with your peers around construction logistics is another thing you can do on HND in construction. So there's lots of variety of different roles that you can undertake as part of being a construction management graduate. If we look at the HND in particular, typical modules that you would take are listed here on the right-hand side. I will concentrate a little bit on some of them. Building information modelling is something I've been part of since inception around '96, and basically that is a 3D representation of the building in a computer. So we build the building in the computer, doing all those things I was talking about logistics, how things fit together. We can plan the time, but we do it virtually. So if you really like gaming, things like Minecraft and Escape, whatever the Cityscape thing used to be called, you can take those skills and abilities and you apply them to construction. We can start thinking about the sequence of the building, how long it takes, and using computer technology, which is generally banned underneath the umbrella of building information modelling. You can start influencing how construction becomes more efficient. We do very specific projects, that give you real hands-on experience of solving a problem. We work with industry professionals, organisations. They would give us a problem they faced on the site, and we use those kind of problems as real-world case studies that enable you to try and solve the problems that the construction industry is facing right now. We also look at finance. So obviously a key part of construction is it costs. I recently did a renovation of the house I'm living in at the moment, and from the start to the finish, the price of materials rose very frighteningly. We think we can do a particular project for a given price, and that's how much money I had. But then you get halfway through and you realise the cost of materials is escalating because of demand. Then you haven't got as much money left to finish the job. So then you have to start thinking about compromise. And a construction management student or a construction manager on the site would start thinking about problem solving. Okay, if we've only got this finite amount of money left, what can we do to rationalise the programme or use different materials, different techniques? And you would all input again into that, probably redesign, for example. We obviously talk about legal aspects. We have to work within regulatory frameworks. There's a lot of news at the moment around the Grenfell inquiry just finishing. There's lots of statutory regulation that, some of that statutory requirement and legislation wasn't adhered to, and that tragically made the fire probably a little bit worse than it could have been. So, understanding the legal requirements, what you need to do, health and safety, etc., as I said before. We also get you to think about drawing. Now, you may think drawing is quite an antiquated thing, but for a construction management student, the ability to be able to sketch out an idea whilst talking to your stakeholders or your client or the cost consultant on a project, standing in a building thinking about how are we going to solve this problem, being able to quickly sketch it out, on a pad, it just helps visualize that problem solving. So the ability to draw is actually quite a good skill to have as a construction management student. Obviously, all projects work within contracts. There's a fee, there's a bit of time duration, there'll be things you have to adhere to, and somebody has to manage that. Right? So as a construction manager, you will be part of that team that is managing all aspects of the site activities to make sure you're doing it in compliance with the contract. We also introduce you to project management. So, construction management is basically looking at what happens in the confines of the construction site, whereas a project manager has the overall arching, sometimes called a project director, the overarching view of the whole project. Okay, so your first job, if you like, is managing the construction site, but ideally you want to work towards managing the whole project. and that's where you start getting quite large salaries and all those kind of things. So we introduce you to some of the project management concepts that are relevant right now for you to manage on the site, but will also become more prevalent in your career as you move in towards project management, project director. And then lastly, but by no means leastly, we're all very conscious of the sustainability problems we're facing. Construction generally accounts for around 10–11% of GDP in the UK. We generate a lot of carbon. Okay, we generate not just through the material manufacture. Many of the machines, although they are starting to move a little bit towards electric now, are still diesel. We do a lot of embedded carbon in, and what do we mean by that? Those materials and the way they're manufactured generate carbon, the way they're transported, even coming to and from site as an operative generates carbon. So we have to think about all those things. So what can we do as an industry to make the project, the site, the activity we're trying to do more sustainable by using less energy? So we introduce some of the concepts of that, and then as you go through different programs, particularly on the degree program, we introduce a lot more complexity in that kind of area. So I guess to recap, it's two different programs: HND in construction, 2-year program, starts at level 4, finishes at level 5. You get to a point where you're kind of at a certain level in terms of maturity as a construction manager. You get your job, you carry on. Next slide, please. What's slightly different with the BSc construction management program is its duration, and we actually teach to a high level. So although we start at level 3, we do level 4, level 5, and level 6. Okay, and as you go through the program, it gets more complex in terms of the skills, abilities, behaviours, the knowledge you gain. That enables you, once you get to the end of the project, at the end of the degree at level 6, you are seen to be more competent than what you would do with HND. Okay, so let me just move my slides. Again, everything we do on the BSc Construction Management Programme is done face-to-face. We have very flexible opportunities in terms of when you come and study with us. We study from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock of an evening, with different times available for you to come study with us that fit in with your life, family, work. Quite a lot of our classes happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evening. So we have a lot of people coming into the program who are currently working in construction, working out or have construction-related jobs. They do that job, they come study with us maybe 2 or 3 evenings a week. We also offer that flexibility in terms of study at weekends, so you can come study Saturday, Sunday mornings across all the different sites we have. And again, we are, as an organisation, obviously looking at other locations, perhaps to broaden out where our course is available. Currently, as I said before, we're in East and West London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds. In terms of entry requirements onto the programme, those of you familiar with A-levels and UCAS points, we tend to ask around 80 UCAS points or above. We ask for 60 credit off-qual qualifications at level 3, that's GCSEs, and other level 3 qualifications like T-levels, etc. We ask for grade C or 4 or above in maths and English to get onto the programme. These are by no means the exhaustive entry requirements. We do offer entry requirements for those that have experience in industry that may not have some of those qualifications. The good thing, some might say, about the programme is that we don't have formal examinations on the programme. So because it's a very vocational programme, we are assessing whether you can do the job, not whether you know the job, whether you could actually do it. So there's a big thing about, obviously, that you need to know some kind of theory, but unless you actually practice the job, you don't really know how to do it. And again, that industry experience that we have within the team, the contacts we have with industry that set problems, all come together with a little bit of theory and knowledge about why you should do something, but the how you should do something is something we really pride ourselves here at GBS, and perhaps making our course a little bit different to what a normal traditional university would do. We use a different assortment of assessment types. We get you to present to ourselves as well as some industry. You may do that on an individual basis. You may do it as a group. We ask you get you to write reports. These reports aren't lengthy things. Often when you're working in industry, your boss hasn't got time to read 5,000-6,000 words of something. Your ability to produce a piece of work that may draw upon 5,000 to 6,000 words of something, you can succinctly summarize it in one page. It gives them the key highlights about why or why not they should do something. Is a great skill to master. We do that on the program. So that when your boss asks you to pull something together, you have to do all the research around it, but you just give them key things that they need to know to make a decision. We do, what other things do we do on the program in terms of assessment? We do have some multiple choice questionnaires. We do have some video recorded presentations. So, using your mobile phone, you can talk into the camera on the mobile phone about a particular subject. That's a lot less daunting than standing in front of a class of 30 of your peers and trying to present something. So, we're looking at, innovations in terms of the way that you would learn. We're looking at innovations in the way that how we assess how you learn. And, everybody has one of these things in their pocket. Using it in the right way to enable you to express what you know about the course is one of the things we're trying to do a lot more of. So, coming on to the construction management program, what kind of skills do you think you're going to have when you get to the end? Well, as with what I was alluding to before, we have to deliver construction projects safely. You cannot expect somebody to come to work and then not go home again. I can't stress that enough. But also, we need to do it on time. If you promise somebody that you're going to get the building ready for 24 months' time, you've got to do everything within your power to get it done on that time. We also want to get it on budget, and then we also want to get it done to the highest possible quality. And those three things really conflict. So time, cost, quality is what we call in a triangle, is the crux, I guess, of what a construction management person does. You're never going to get all three of those on a project. You either go for quickly to reduce cost and not great quality. You could go for great quality that costs a lot that would take longer. So that balance about understanding what kind of priority the project wants is something we're going to teach you about as well. We're obviously looking at key theories, concepts, principles. You need to know roughly how you would cost a building. Typically, if you want to build a new house, it roughly costs you anywhere between £1,200 and £1,500 per square metre. We know that because we've got projects, we've got databases that tell us that, in a particular location, it might go up and down a little bit. London, for example, is probably a lot more than what it would be in Newcastle, respectively. But, there's things out there that you can pick on that you can very quickly estimate how much a building costs. So if you've got a 10-storey building, it's got 20,000 square metres in it, and commercial offices are 2,500 per square metre, you very quickly calculate what you can get for your budget. So we talk about those. We talk about what kind of performance the building wants. We need to make it sustainable. There's different ways of measuring sustainability, for example. And we would introduce you to some of those key concepts. You don't need to be an expert in all these things. What the construction management program does is gives you knowledge and understanding of these things so that if somebody has a conversation with you on the site about a particular thing, you know what it is. You don't have to be the expert because you know who to go to the expert for. Right? So if you've got a very detailed question, you may have some idea, as I say, it costs £1,250 per square metre for this house. But if you want to really get down into the nitty gritty about how many bricks this house is going to have in it, you would go to a quantity surveyor. And that's their role to work that out for you. But because we've told you that that's where you go to get the definitive answer. You can give an estimated answer because you know how much it costs per square metre, but to get there to the minute how many bricks it is, you go to a quantity. So we do all those kind of things. But what we also need to do is, as I said to you before, construction does contribute a lot to the British UK economy. So you need to have some understanding about how you manage a business. Okay? Whether you're managing Balfour Beatty or whether you're managing one of Balfour Beatty's sites in Manchester, you have your own small business unit. And your site that you're working on with the team and the project director and all the rest of it, and within that site you might have a package. So you might have the steel package for that office building, and that's your responsibility. And that steel package is worth £3 million. So although you are not managing the whole organisation, what you're managing is that business unit of the steel package. So you need to be on top of where you are in that package, how much time you've got left, how much resource have I put into it, have I put the right amount, do I need to pull back? If I'm behind schedule, can I afford to put more resource into it? So you're managing your own little business unit as a package. So understanding management theory, how businesses work, is just as important for construction management as it would be for business management. It's just you're applying it to a very particular package, site, organisation as you get mature in the industry. And, we pride ourselves a lot in terms of that evidence-based approach to teaching and learning, or learning and teaching, I should say. So we're asking you to analyse things, we're asking you to evaluate things, we're asking you to make a decision. Right? That decision generally is not a right or wrong decision. What we would ask you to do is pull lots of information together to make an informed decision, and you would argue your position for making that decision. There's more than one way of putting an office building together. There may be 3,000. You may choose option 512, but it's why you've chosen that 512 and the information you have is what we're going to get you to do. 512 isn't any better than doing 516. It's just that that's what you've chosen to do, but we're more interested in why. Why have you chosen to do it that way? So those problem-solving skills. Solving those real-life problems is something we really pride ourselves on the programme to make sure that you can make those informed decisions when you're actually working. Next slide, please. So this is typically what our programme looks like. This is the current structure. I will say that the industry is evolving very quickly, and we are currently looking at some of these modules that we're currently teaching. Some of the titles may change if you decide to join us, but the overall strategy of the program, if you like, and what we ask you to do is pretty much going to stay the same. So if you look at the program, obviously years 0 and 1, we're looking at you, giving you knowledge. Okay, knowledge about the industry, knowledge about materials, innovations in the industry, the law, how buildings are put together, why they stand up. We're going to introduce you to what the built environment construction management actually is. But I think the most important thing we do is the first 2 modules on the program. Many of you that come onto the program, we have found, haven't been in education for a long time or a little while, and you need that boost of this is how you learn. Okay, so we get you back into the habit of learning, and the time we spent at the start of the program getting that right is the foundation, to use a building pun, is the foundation for the rest of the program. So we spend quite a bit of time getting you into how to write again, how to think again, how to search for information, how to manage your time, and all those kind of things, because reminding you of those building blocks is going to make you a successful student towards the end of the program. All right. So levels 3 and 4 is all about probably knowledge and understanding. Okay. The year 2 is a little bit more about some of the skills you're going to get. So we talk about what you need to do before the project starts as a construction manager. How do you estimate something? How do you put a tender document together? So as a construction management student, you will receive something called a tender. So when the design is finished for my 10-story office block, a quantity surveyor has given us the quantities. We would then, as a construction organisation, take that information and think about how much it's going to cost us to build that building. Okay, and that's what we call an invitation to tender. It's an invitation to tender to build that building. So a lot of time you may be involved in not actually working on a site, but figuring out how much it's going to cost to put something together. And you're in competition with other organisations. So you have to make strategic business decisions about whether we go low to not make a lot of profit, to perhaps get the job, to keep the company going. You may think, actually, we got a really buoyant workload at the moment. You know, if our reputation is out there, you know, we're doing a fantastic job for different clients. You know, we might think, actually, we want to make 10% profits on this job. And our quote is right up here. You know, our reply to that tender is, I don't know, 20% more than the lowest one. And then the client decides whether they want to go for here or here. You know, if you're winning this project with 20% profit, you are in happy days. You know, so construction management students, you know, need to figure out how tendering works, needs to figure out how you contribute to that. And your knowledge of building on site really goes into that, because you're at the coalface of building. You know how long it takes. You know how many people it takes to do it. Okay. We also introduce you to the professional body in professional practice. So the Chartered Institute of Building, you know, you want those letters after your name, and that's recognition that you are a professional person. So we introduce you to those kind of things. Again, we do some more economics, we do some more sustainability things. We also introduce you to something we call research methods. And that is how you take a vast body of knowledge or information and you turn it into something. Okay, so it's pulling all that together and then making something out of it, and that's what we do in research methods. And then in the final year of your program, we really start, you know, giving you, I guess, the more management behavioural side of things. So, you know, we talk about dispute resolution. So, you know, often there's conflict in a construction project. You know, the quantity surveyor is saying you need to do it for X. You're saying you can only do it for Y. How do you meet in the middle? So conflict happens, but having skills, having some knowledge about how you dissolve conflict to come to an agreement is something that really stands you in good stead as a construction manager. So we do a module on that. We also do a little bit more about project management. We're also going to do a little bit more about some industry-facing projects. So it's not actually called a research project anymore. It's called an industry project. And that's where we're hoping to get a construction organisation in front of the students and say, here's my problem, help me solve it. And then you would work in groups of 4 or 5 students with that construction organisation helping and guiding you, giving you feedback along the way to help solve that problem. So for me, it's exciting. You know, I've been doing this for probably 20, 25 years now. And I'm not a construction manager, by the way, I'm a building surveyor. But construction management is the real key stakeholder, if you like, in making buildings happen. You know, if you have that ability to be able to put things together on time, on budget, to do desired quality, you're going to make yourself a great career. Sorry, I've been waffling on for a while, but that's, you know, we're really passionate about our program here, and you know, we are constantly evolving it. And as I say, if you are successful in coming to us, some of these things may change, but that is honestly the crux of what we're trying to do. So can we have the next slide, please? So hopefully I've excited you enough that you want to come and join the program. What do you do next? So we're just going to talk, it's 5 steps to making an application here at GBS. The first thing you do, obviously, is you visit the website. You know you want to do construction management. You either decide you want to do the HND or the full degree program, and you find the right web page, and then you look at the entry requirements and you see if you're eligible. Now, often that can be quite difficult. You know, our admissions team are here to help you. You know, there's help, guidance, there's chats that you can use to say, yeah, this is me. You know, can you give me some advice on whether I can apply to this course or not? If you think you can apply, and you think you're eligible, you want to apply, you know, you use the Apply Now website that's on the screen at the moment. It's it's all over the website. It's, pushing the apply button is fairly straightforward. What happens next is that application is looked at internally, and then if you are successful, the initially the admissions team will call you. You need to do some proficiency tests in maths, English. Maths is on some programs, not all of them, and we're using that to assess whether you're suitable for the program. If all these things are successful, then you come and study with us here at GBS. We have 3 intakes a year. We are just coming up to the October intake of a brand new set of students. We also take students in January, February, end of January, beginning of February, and then we also take students in June. So if you're not quite ready right now, there are other options for you to join at different times of the year. And again, the sites available are all the same currently until we hear otherwise. Wherever is most suitable for you, we can generally take it. Okay, so I think that's enough from me. Hopefully we've excited you enough that you want to come and join us here at GBS on the construction management program, and we'll hang around and see if you've got any questions towards the end.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Mark. So yes, just a gentle reminder, which I've been putting plenty of text messages out there about. If you do have any questions, type them into the questions box, which is the little speech bubble icon with the question mark in it. And I see we had a couple of questions already, so thank you for that. So any other questions, please type them in there. Now, I'll talk a little bit about student finance. So the next slide, please. So I just want to, before I start my talk, I want to really emphasize something. That I am here, like the rest of my colleagues, we can advise you with student finance, but essentially you have to make the application directly yourself. Now, what is student finance? So student finance is where you have the opportunity to borrow money from the UK government to help pay your tuition fees or to help you pay with your living costs while you're studying at university. There's 2 options that are generally available. The first one is called the tuition fee loan. These loans are not income assessed, so they're not based on how much income you're earning or your background, but they have to be used to pay your tuition fees. And the second type of loan is called a maintenance loan. Now, these loans are partly income assessed, so your personal income will be assessed in terms of what kind of loan you get, but they can be used to help you with the costs of living. Okay, so these are supplementary grants. There are also supplementary grants available, I should say, which can be used for students with specific circumstances or needs. And that's a kind of third type of loan, but we don't know much about that. And it's very kind of needs based, so we don't really talk about it too much. But I want to focus on tuition fee loans and maintenance loans today. Uh, and if you want to find out any more information about either of those loans, I'll point you in the direction of a URL you can see highlighted there in yellow. It's gov.uk/student finance. If you go on there, you'll find all the latest government information, including the eligibility, terms and conditions, and that will tell you everything you need to know directly from the government itself. So next slide, please. So student funding and eligibility. How the Student Loans Company, which is known as the SLC, calculates your funding. They work out the length of your current course plus 1 year minus previous years of study in terms of how much fund you get. So potentially what that means, if you maybe applied for a student loan in the past for a degree, they'll take that into account in terms of how much extra they fund you. Please be advised that even one student finance payment counts as a year of study. Okay, so we cannot advise applicants to use maintenance loans to fund their fees, especially use your tuition fee loan to fund your fees. And then finally, this is very important, and I know I keep reiterating this, but again, we do advise you with student finance, but you have to make the application directly yourself to Student Finance England, who then will talk you through the process of getting a loan for either your tuition or maintenance. Next slide. So what do they use to determine eligibility? So the key factors they consider, such as university or college, GBS, that you want to go to, your previous study, your previous qualifications, and of course your nationality residency status as well. So they'll take those factors into account. Now, the students that tend to be eligible for full support are students that are UK nationals or Irish citizens or have settled status, which means there's no restrictions on how long they can live in the UK. The other criteria is you normally have to live in England as well. So that potentially means, and I'm not sure about the exact duration, but you kind of maybe been out of the country for spells longer than 3 months. Also, when you have been living in the UK, you have to have been living in the UK, the Channel Isle, or the Isle of Man for 3 years in a row before the first day of your first academic year. So I think they will take into account things like small holidays you may have been on and whatnot. But if you have stayed out of the country, the Channel Isles of Isle of Man for a long duration of time, they'll take that into consideration as well before determining your eligibility. Next slide. So the UK entry date is quite crucial. Some visa statuses require the student to have lived in the UK for 3 years before the start of the academic year, and there's no negotiation on that. Okay, so do double check that. If you are planning to start a course with us this September, great, but just know that on the start date of that course, you should have been in the country for about 3 years. Then we also have students with pre-settled status, and they can access both the tuition fee loan and the maintenance loan. They also must prove, though, they've been working for at least 3 years. Otherwise, they may only be entitled to the tuition fee loan. Now, to make all these proofs and to provide all this evidence of yourself before you're applying for a role, I'm sure there'll be different permits you have. We don't want to advise on what permits are acceptable and what are not by the government. What we recommend doing is visiting that URL you can see highlighted in yellow, and I believe you can actually select it to your country if your permit's from a different country, and that will show you whether those permits you have are eligible for student funding applications or not. And I think that's our last slide on this. Next slide. Yep. Now, I have some sad news. We were planning to have a segment of this webinar where we talk to a student directly about their life at GBS, but unfortunately, our student who has been making a lot of efforts, I should add, to try and get onto the webinar, has experienced some major technical issues, resulting in them not being able to access the webinar, to speak to us, or they can possibly hear us, but they can't really speak to us, which of course defeats the purpose of a back and forth Q&A. But so sadly, on this occasion, we will have to bypass a student Q&A as part of this webinar. So we'll just go over to the next slide. There we go. So we lost one Q&A, which is our student Q&A, but there's always an opportunity for another, and this is your Q&A. So if you are a attendee today, we first of all thank you for attending, and secondly, we really want you to get involved. So please type the question into the questions box, and depending on who that question is for, myself or the academic, will answer it for you. So pleased to say, Mark, we have had a couple of questions. The first one I think is quite straightforward, but I'm hoping you know this. If not, I'll be able to dig out some information. When does the course begin? So when does the HND and the BSc, should I say, construction begin?
So, as I said, there's three intakes. The specific dates tend to change a little bit for year on year, but you can join at any point in the October cohort for October intake, February intake, and June intake. The February one tends to be kind of the third or fourth week. The October one is the last week of October this time, and we haven't finalised June yet, but again, it's probably mid-June. So whether you start in February, June, or October doesn't matter. It's just it's 4 years from that particular point. So exact dates haven't been confirmed yet, but it's around the end of October, end of February, middle of June, on a yearly basis.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so next question, Mark. I think you covered this in your earlier presentation, but it's maybe good for a slight reiteration. So one of our attendees asked, what kind of job roles can they get from completing this degree?
So, generally speaking, completing the degree, the BSc honours, you're going to be looking at either a job straight on the site with probably a small or medium-sized organisation generally, or for larger organisations, you could go into their graduate schemes. As I said before, being a construction manager has very different arms to it, a bit like an octopus, if you like. You can specialise in many different things: health and safety. You can specialise in contracts. You could specialise in logistics planning, the programme of the project. You may want to be negotiating, with the client, with the contractors, with the quantity surveyors around cost, around time. So, if you're confident in negotiation, there's slightly different roles. Or what most people do is that hands-on problem-solving day-to-day activity. Okay, we've got to put this building up on this site. Today we're coming in, it's rained overnight, we've got loads of water everywhere, how are we going to solve it? Or you might go to the other extreme in that you're expecting a steel delivery today to put the next story on your office block. It hasn't arrived yet. It's stuck on the traffic on the M6 now outside Birmingham. All right, I've got all these people hanging around. I've got a crane here, it's costing me 30 grand a day. What can I do with that while we get that particular delivery here? One way of overcoming that, obviously, is you get the next day's activities, the next day's delivery for that activity the day before and store it somewhere. If you've got that luxury, great, because you're always a day behind in terms of putting up what you've had delivered. But if you're doing it just in time and it's rolling up that day and you're taking it straight off the lorry to put it into place, you've got to have that contingency. You've got to have some idea about what to do. So, that in essence is what the construction management degree gives you. It gives you all that thinking, it gives you all that skill, it gives you knowledge about different subjects in terms of being able to pull all that together and think on your feet, to think, I know, if the thing's flooded out, I need to get a pump. Where am I going to pump it to? Do I hire a pump? Have I got a pump? How quick can you get it here? How much is it going to cost me? Until we get it pumped out, all these people are sat in the vans not doing anything. All right, well, let's put them on some part of the site that might not be ready 100%, but it might be 90% and they can do something. And it's that thing that really sets apart the construction managers from perhaps more traditional office-based activities like costing, back contracting, because you're out there with the workers, so to speak, solving those problems and really getting the job done. That's what excites about construction management.
Thank you, Mark. That's very useful. Another question is, can you give us some kind of examples of practical exercises students have done on their course or real-world kind of exercises?
So we often take students to site visits, and obviously those site visits, tend to be on a voluntary basis, not compulsory. But what we do is we use those site visits to generate discussions or questions or problems to solve in the class. So it might be a health and safety problem. You may have been on the construction site, and hopefully you haven't seen any health and safety issues because it's a working site, they shouldn't have any. But you can use that example to demonstrate why you do those health and safety things. Why do we have to have a cordoned off walkway, a very defined pathway you walk? You don't just walk anywhere. Why do we have to have people clocking in and clocking out using ID cards? Why do you need safety boots? Why do you need helmets? Why do you need gloves, glasses, etc., etc.? So you can use lots of videos of sites. You can live stream to sites and talk to a site manager about their day-to-day activities. We do those kind of things. But I think the most exciting thing is solving those real-world problems. Going to the Balfour Beatties of this world or the BAM Constructions of this world and saying, we've got this site in Manchester. It's a brownfield site. It's been built on before. We're going to put this 15-story apartment block on it. You start digging in the ground and you find foundations from an existing building you didn't know were there. Okay, now what do you do? So we would give you that problem. Okay, how are you going to solve this problem? Do you have to get rid of it? Are you going to go around it? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? How's it going to affect the program? Always, that's the real exciting and the crux of what we would do in those practical examples.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. I was trying to find the unmute button there. So, no, that was really useful. Thank you for that detail. And I hope people have found use of that information as well. So I'll just like to go on to the next slide, please, Ashna, as that concludes our Q&A session and we've answered questions from the audience. Just bring that up now. Excellent. Thank you very much. So again, really hope you enjoyed this presentation. And I'd just like to give you a bit of further information on what happens next. So if you do want further information about studying at GBS, please give us a call on 020 8092 9440. That's 020 8092 9440, where one of our helpful team will be happy to talk to you about our courses, talk through the application process, give you advice on student finance accessing, all sorts of things, okay? So they can give you all sorts of advice on how to apply for the course, etc. But if you're really interested in seeing more of GBS for yourself, they can also book a personalized campus tour for you, where you can see the premises where students like yourselves study on a day-to-day basis. If you have applied already, then you can see on screen the information on the next steps. That's a little post-it note at the end over there on the right. So top row and right, you can see if you applied already, give us a couple of weeks to process your application, because we have to look through your entry requirements and the course you applied for. But if you haven't heard anything from us within 1-2 weeks after applying, please email our admissions teams directly. And their email address is admissions@globalbanking.ac.uk. If you are wondering whether you are eligible for a course and you haven't applied yet, again, as we mentioned earlier, visit our website, go to our courses section and just have a look at the course. And every course has its own entry requirement section on there. We're pleased to say as well that if you have really, really enjoyed this webinar, you can get the opportunity to view it again. We'll have a recording of it available within our YouTube channel in a few weeks. And of course, if you want to keep updated with the latest developments that are happening at Global Banking School, follow us on our social media channels. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, to name a few. And you can find us by simply searching for our handle, which is @GBS Knowledge. And we'll keep you up to date with the daily occurrences at GBS. It's not all studying. There's a lot of exciting things we do at GBS, including visits from very famous presenters and lots of testimonials from our students as well, talking about their experiences. So please do give us a follow on social to see what life is really like at GBS, really. So all in all, we'll end it here. So I'd like to give Mark the opportunity to say goodbye.
Thank you all. Been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much. And it's goodbye from me. Hopefully you liked what you've seen today and take that step to apply for one of our courses. And then who knows, in a couple of weeks, we'll see you in one of our classrooms. Thank you and have a good evening.